Hello everybody, and you are welcome to another episode of Behind the Walls with Pete and
Ferg.
Ferg loves that bit the way he just comes in. Big party place. So, continuing on from what we've started, we have got some really, really good guests in, and we're delving into all of the different topics in retrofit. So today, we've got two beautiful ladies with us, and we're going to discuss money. So I have with me Roisin Mulligan from the SEAI. Got Roisin's name right. I got everybody's name wrong this morning.
No.
So very welcome, Roisin. And I also have Orla Cholmáin.
Perfect.
I can't believe the pressure that's off you. So, start with yourself, Orla. Would you like to tell us who you are and where you're from, what company you're with?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Orla Cholmáin. I'm the Product Development Manager with the SBCI, which stands for Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland. And essentially that is a financial institution that is owned by the Irish government that helps small businesses and consumers access low-cost funding.
And the reason why you're here today is to discuss funding for retrofit.
Exactly. So specifically the home energy upgrade loan. Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
So, Orla, Roisin, would you like to tell us a little bit more about that? As in how the two link together, I suppose.
Yeah, look, I suppose the SEI has done a whole load of research on this, and time again the same theme comes up in our research, and that's that people actually really want to retrofit their houses. They actually want to make them warmer and healthier and more comfortable places to be, but they can't afford to do it. So its cost and its affordability comes up time and time again. So what this loan is trying to achieve is it's trying to make energy upgrades more accessible and more affordable. And it's saying, look, these are for everybody. They're not just for the people who are doing the big upgrade. They're for the people who are just doing the basic measures of, the attic and the wall insulation, the heating controls, trying to keep that heat in, trying to make themselves, more comfortable in their homes. And the loans really tackle that issue of, look, I don't have the upfront cost of these upgrades. I don't have the savings. I'm paying sky high energy bills, but I don't have the funds upfront to be able to pay for these upgrades. So the loans are really about spreading the cost over a period of time and reducing that upfront cost of the upgrades or eliminating it altogether in some cases. Yeah,
so it's basically trying to solve the conundrum that so many people have across the country, where exactly as you said at the start, they're committed to getting an energy upgrade done. Yeah. They understand the benefits of doing it. Yeah. They understand of all the different benefits in lots of different ways. But the reality of it is, at this moment in time, they can't put their hand into their pocket or into their bank account and have that money. So then, Orla, you coming on. So give us a little bit of, I suppose, a background as to who would be eligible and how would they make an application?
Yeah, sure. So first off, who's eligible? Republic of Irish based, you're a homeowner. You are seeking to embark on an energy upgrade within your home, and that's really it. And you are seeking to achieve an uplift of over 20% in your BER. So steps in the application are actually very straightforward. So first off, contact an SEAI registered one-stop shop or a community project coordinator. And they essentially come in, they look at your home, and they prepare what is called a home energy summary report. Now, very important in this stage, if you like, is that you must have a BER assessment. So that simply shows your building energy efficiency rating.
Yeah, so we've discussed this a good bit on the podcast already.
Great.
So people, I would say, are probably aware of that. So
okay, good.
It's essentially an energy assessment of the home and a BER rating for the home, which is fairly straightforward.
I might just jump in there, because there has been a little bit of confusion around exactly what you need for the loan. So a home energy assessment, if you have a home energy assessment, brilliant, you have your roadmap to get up to B2 and you have an idea of what it's going to cost. You actually don't need a full home energy assessment, because a home energy assessment is that it includes a BER, it includes the technical assessment for a heat pump to say whether or not it's going to be suitable for your home, and it includes that roadmap to get you up to a B2.
Okay.
Actually, for the loan, you only need a BER assessment, right?
Oh, okay.
And a BER assessment lasts for 10 years. So if you've had a BER done on your home in the last 10 years, that is enough to get you into the loan. Now, there are certain grant schemes within SBCI where you have to have a more recent BER. So if you're doing that whole of house comprehensive upgrade and getting to a B2, you probably do need to get a more up-to-date BER assessment. But let's take that case of someone who just wants to come in and do, their attic, their wall insulation, their heating controls, that kind of thing. If they're just doing that and they have a fairly short-term horizon and they're not necessarily looking at the bigger B2 upgrade just at the moment, they can just have a BER assessment and they can go and get that loan. And I think that's an important thing, because that home energy assessment, it can be an expensive thing. You're talking more than just a BER assessment there. Okay. And while it's a really valuable report, it's not actually a requirement of the loan.
Okay, excellent. So it's even easier than what I thought.
Absolutely. Even easier. So exactly that, and exactly what Roisin said, you only need that BER assessment. So once you have your home energy summary report, if you like, that's your step one, you can then go to a lender in the market. And important to say, you don't have to go to your main bank, which is maybe something that people don't necessarily know about this loan. There's 11 lenders within the market now, 3 of the pillar banks, and then some credit unions. So you can go out and you can shop around, which is a real benefit there. Rates are starting from 2.99% in the market, and they do range according to the lenders out there, but they are very, very competitive versus, for instance, a green loan that kind of price around 6 to 7%. Yeah. So that's it. Also important to note, when you hand over that form, you go to your chosen bank, they do put it through their own credit criteria. So they go through their own lending process, and with that you receive your loan approval and your funds. And funds can be drawn before the works begin. Okay. Which is a real positive. Yeah. So you could use those funds towards a deposit or something else before you've actually started on your home retrofit, which I think is great.
I think that's a really important point, because what we found was that people are saying, well, I need my loan approval and I need my loan in order to even go and sign a contract. So the benefit of this is you get your quotation from the one-stop shop and you get your home energy summary report. You go and get your loan approval at that stage, and then you can draw down the works. You can draw down the funds before the works actually begin. And even if that's at that stage, right, I know I have my loan now, I can go and I can sign my contracts and I have the certainty that I can actually have the funds to pay for these works and go ahead with them. Because there is that bit of chicken and egg here around, do you get your loan first? Do you get your, do you get your quotation? Do you have to sign your contracts before you have your loan funds in place? This takes all of the uncertainty out of that, and it makes sure that you can go ahead and you can sign your contracts and you can go ahead with the works, and you'll have your loans, your loan funds up front.
Then, And I'll come back and ask you another question in a second. But Fergal, from a one-stop shop point of view, just be honest. Like, if you hear someone is coming through the loan scheme,
always honest.
The face like that, how could you be anything else? But genuinely, like, so let's say someone comes to you and they go, look, we want to get the work done, and just to let you know, we are going to be getting it financed. Does that say to you, oh no, this is a pain in the backside, or is it easy from your perspective as well?
No, it's great to have the loan scheme in place, the home energy upgrade loan scheme. I'm glad they put such a easy to say.
It's catchy.
See me at the start, I was sweating. I was like, I couldn't remember names.
Just start singing it.
I have homeowners ringing me talking about Hules, and I'm saying, who's Hules? That's the way they're taking it up now. But I suppose if you go back and look at what we had before, obviously there was no loan scheme or no low interest rate scheme. So what was the major barrier to anyone completing works? Finance. It was always finance. It still is finance, and that's always going to be the first barrier. But remember to say, like, it's amazing when you start talking about these things. I'm just listening there. The amount of information in the first few minutes there is mind-boggling in terms of, so it's going to be hard to hit everything here, but just to... This loan scheme is aimed at both individual and full retrofits. So you can do it piecemeal, we say, for loans. I think the minimum loan is 5,000, if I'm correct, and the max
correct,
is 75,000.
Okay.
There's all kinds of pieces in this. You can use 25% of the loan for non-energy efficiency works. So if you need painting and decorating after works, that kind of thing. But again, I would emphasise, rather than us trying to cover all the bases here, if you talk to your one-stop shop and you say you're interested in the home energy upgrade loan scheme, they will run through all the criteria and what's available. But again, what I'd say, another important thing to point out is that the loan is minus the grant when you're going for a full retrofit. So the grants are discounted from one-stop shops for full retrofit up to B2 are discounted up front. So again, you're getting more bang for your buck there, and the homeowner doesn't have to worry about paying full amounts back. Yeah. You're not getting a loan and then waiting for a grant. This is all taken care of beforehand.
So you're not paying interest on money that you're going to be given as a grant anyway.
Yeah,
okay. Exactly. It's net of that, or taking that out of the equation.
It just reduces the amount you need to get it. Like you could have, for a one-stop shop, it could be anything from 20 to 30,000 in grant. Yeah. So that's not taken into account in the loan, obviously, because it's discounted up front from the one-stop shop. But it's great that it's actually released beforehand, because most one-stop shops operate a deposit scheme because they are putting the grant or discounting the grant amount up front. Yeah. So to reduce risk, they're taking in deposits,
Okay. So you didn't answer the question.
I actually forgot what
information. Yeah.
This is my point about how much was said beforehand, and I'm saying I better say that.
I'll ask you the question again.
Go on. Sorry.
Are you happy when somebody comes to you and says, "I have to find this"? Yeah.
Back to that. Yeah. Absolutely, because in terms of it's not. They're not going out looking for general loans. It is a simple process. The summary form that Orla has mentioned is an A4 form. It's very simple for the one-stop shop to fill it out.
Which is good.
By the time you get to that stage, and I know we've said, Roisin was talking, you only need a BER, but that would be more aimed at the individual route. When you go down the one-stop shop route, we would look for a home energy assessment, because we have to know you're going to achieve all the requirements of the scheme before we start, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So you do require a HEA for that. But in terms of talking to homeowners, I mean, I'm not getting into who's being refused these loans or things, but I would imagine that this is applicable to most people that have access to this.
And there's funds secured, so therefore there's a certain amount of comfort from a contractor's point of view.
And at the back end, there's kind of proof of work's being done. Yeah. You can't get this loan and buy a boat now.
So Orla, thanks, Ferg, for all your information there. But can you tell us a bit more about the next steps in the process then? Is it a stage payment? Do you get the money up front? What way, sort of go into those details for us, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So everything's gone to plan. You get your loan approved, and typically it's a payment up front. Okay. So once the loan's approved, and as I said, the loans received before the works begin, if you need them to be. Roisin, would you agree with that? Anything to add?
Yeah, I suppose the other thing is at the back end then there is a sharing of information happening between the SEAI, who administer the grants, and the SBCI, who are administering the loan scheme. So we do come and check. Yes, there is eligibility. So once the works are complete, the one-stop shop puts in the grant, the claim for the grant, and puts in the post-works building energy rating certificate, and if everything is checked and the grant is paid out, the information around what works have been completed and the amount that has actually been spent on energy upgrades is shared by the SEAI with the SBCI in the background. The homeowner doesn't have to do anything on this end, but it's just to check that 75% of the loan has actually been spent on energy upgrades. Yeah. So there is a check. This is a government-backed scheme, and there's a government subsidy of the interest rate happening here to make it as low cost as possible. So there are checks to make sure that the public funds are actually being spent on what they're supposed to be spent on.
And you had said all at the start that there's 11 different lenders.
Yes.
So is there 11 different set of rules, or is it generic?
No. So in terms of the loan features, as Ferg went into, and as in the loan size, the term is 1 to 10 years, That's all standard across all the lenders in the market. Similarly, the eligibility criteria is as well. As Roisin said, this is a government-backed scheme, and we have agreed these terms and conditions with the government that's backing the scheme.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the set of rules, I suppose, are generic, is what you're saying?
Yes, they would be standard across.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's important to note, though, that the interest rates do vary across the lenders.
The interest rates,
so they go from anywhere from, I think, 2.99%. One of the credit unions is offering the lowest rate, and they go upwards from there. So shop around to get the best rate. There's also,
good advice.
There's also a really good loan comparison tool on, I can never say this right, the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, the CCPC.
That was easy to say.
They've a website, and they have a loan calculator on their website. Brilliant. And all of the government-backed home energy upgrade loans are on that calculator. So if you're wondering what's the best deal for me, go on to the CCPC website, have a look, and it'll give you, however much you want to borrow and how much you want to borrow it over. And generally, the first ones that come up on the list, because they're the lowest cost in the market, are the SBCI home energy upgrade loans.
Very good. Will we go into some of the details then? Like, Ferg, you touched on a couple of them there. Orla, would you be the expert on telling us kind of some of those parameters that people have? You said it's up to 75,000, from 5,000 to 75,000.
Yes, exactly. So
okay.
Yeah. So I suppose thinking about what are the loan sizes? 5k to 75k.
Okay.
Of that 5k, to make it very simple, 75% must be towards those energy efficiency works. So you think insulation, think heat pumps, think things like that. So that's the first thing.
So to simplify that, basically what it means is that you can have 25% of your loan to use on a kitchen or other works that are outside of the energy upgrade. Is that right?
Peter.
Get me in. That's where I have to have some sort of use.
There you go. But related to the overall project. Yeah. So,
of course,
so
it can't be on another house or something like that.
Exactly, of course. And as Roisin said, the eligibility criteria and those checks are done in the back end. So that is something for the homeowner, the applicant, to be aware of and mindful of when they're applying for this. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the loan term goes from 1 year up to 10 years.
Okay.
Which is great, because typically most kind of green loans in the market go to 7 years. Okay. So you get that bit of extra length, and of course reducing your monthly repayments even further. You can spread it out nice and evenly over the term. And they're kind of the key aspects. As Roisin said, the rates do vary. Shop around, make sure to shop around. And credit process can vary across the lenders as well. So be mindful of that as well. Okay. So when we say shop around, their processes may vary.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So I've got a couple of grants recently.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Roisin. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I hope you got them easy enough in the end.
But genuinely, they actually were quite easy to apply.
Great to
the
hear.
System was, and I've said this several times before, when the SEAI was first set up, I said to myself, this is going to be a disaster. Like, as just an ordinary main contractor, I said, how are they going to manage this? And you have managed it really well. Like, you genuinely have. It's a huge success story. So I suppose what I would presume is that this is going to be similar in that you're using the same processes, same background checks, same processes that you've been using that have been successful in this situation. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, look, this works hand in hand with the SEI grants, and that was really the focus of this from the outset. We wanted to create a journey for homeowners that didn't add a whole new administrative burden on them, because they have enough to be worried about. So the idea was to tie it in with the one-stop shop service, so you get that hassle-free upgrade process, and you get the administrative bit around the loan. So this thing around checking upfront, are the works that you're doing going to be eligible for a grant? How much are they going to cost? And what is the impact of those going to be in terms of the energy upgrade? The one-stop shop is able to do all those calculations. They have the costs because they're giving you a quotation anyway, and they're able to give you the paperwork to say, this is how much they're going to cost. We're a registered contractor, and you're going to get this amount of a grant, so this is the net cost. And then you only need to worry about, I'm only needing to finance the net cost of the upgrades. So yes, you do have to show that you have repayment capacity. Ultimately, we're into responsible lending, and the purpose of this is not necessarily to ask people to borrow where they don't have affordability. You do have to show the affordability, but it is about just spreading the cost out over a period of time. And by reducing the interest rate on the loan and by reducing the cost of those loans, it's making the whole thing much more affordable for homeowners.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like, Ferg, from your perspective, this must be a very positive thing, because it's definitely one thing that I hear a lot is, and people sometimes say to me in jest, "Oh, you're your man from the telly. I'd love you to come do work on my home, and I'd love to get one of them energy upgrades, but I couldn't afford it." And I always go, "Well, are you sure you couldn't?" And they go, "I should add cost a fortune." And a lot of people make that decision before they even really properly look into it. And now here's an opportunity. First of all, you're going to know how much the cost of the works is, because you're given the costs up front, and you're going to need those costs before you get the loan. Then you're going to be given the opportunity to apply for a loan, and you're going to know how much the repayments are. So those kind of, and I know a lot of people do say to me in jest, but those kind of attitudes or that sort of general thought process is hopefully going to be something that I can now go, no, hold on for a second, you can't afford it, all you need to do is do X, Y and Z. Surely that's going to be a positive thing for the industry.
Definitely. And as Roisin well knows, I suppose, and I've spoken about, the main barrier was always finance.
Yeah.
And we've been waiting for this loan scheme for years, and that's not Roisin's fault either.
It took a while.
But I do know that during the process, and in fairness to SBCI, no matter what they are dealing with at the time, they do talk to contractors, they do talk to, they like to hear the feedback and your opinions on what you think of this. They mightn't take it on board, but they like to hear it anyway. So there's an awful lot of work was put into setting this up.
Yeah.
But as a vehicle for a homeowner to avail of, it's brilliant in terms of like if you do the bank calculations on a standard loan versus this one, you'll see the difference in repayments is like it's half the interest rate. It just, and the other thing about home energy upgrades is obviously there's a saving in running costs after completing it, so it could well be possible that you would pay a lot of this loan back from your savings of running your house. And bear that in mind as well,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have a couple of examples actually, and because I think it just helps to break it down into, because there's the grants, there's the technical stuff around the upgrades, and what's suitable, what's not, what the actual original cost of the upgrades is, how much of a grant you get, and then the loan is added on top of that, and just putting all those different pieces of the puzzle together, I think is helpful. So this isn't going to be everybody's house, and this isn't going to fit everybody's circumstances, but just to take an example, let's say. So this is your basics, your attic and your wall insulation, and let's say it's not cavity, because cavity is cheap as chips and it pays back very, very, very quickly. So let's take maybe internal wall insulation, internal dry lining, and attic insulation for a detached house. So
this is an example of someone who's listening to this now and they're looking at putting insulation only into their house.
Yeah.
So attic insulation.
Attic insulation and internal wall insulation. Okay. Now, this isn't somebody's actual house. This is based on median costs. So we do actually monitor.
So it's a case study on a median cost.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's say the total cost, once you take the grant away of those upgrades, because ultimately the one-stop shop is going to be able to deduct the SBCI grant from the upfront cost. So let's say net of grant, your cost here is for attic and internal wall insulation plus a post-works BER, because you need that in order to get the grant. You're talking about median costs of about €5,730. So you can pay that upfront. If you have savings, great. Pay €5,730 up front. But the other alternative here is to spread it over a 5-year loan, in which case you're paying €108 a month. So you could get your attic, your dry lining and your postworks BER for €108 per month, which I think is much more affordable, and it just breaks it down into something much more manageable for people.
It's spread out over 5 years.
Spread out over 5 years.
And that's for a standard size semi-detached house, is that what you said?
No, that's a detached house.
A detached house, okay.
Now, again, within those median costs, you're looking at very expensive ones, and you're looking at much cheaper ones. So this is your middle of the road costs, just as an example. And just, don't forget then you're getting your energy bills reduced, doing your attic and your walls. You could save anywhere up to €600 a year on your energy bills, or up to 25%. So this is the basics. These are the no-brainers where you will get your money back on your investment in terms of the energy bills within a number of years.
But also for those 5 years, you're living in a much more comfortable home.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're always saying that it's very hard to put a value on that,
Oh, big time.
Yeah, like, cause look, again, I'm building all the time, and I can see the difference between homes, between the start and the finish, but also even in my own home, since I've, upgraded my home, I can feel the difference in it straight away. So it's very hard to put a value on that. And that's why I always say to people, if you can't afford it, get it done now. Yeah. And the fact that there's a loan now, it makes it more viable for people to get it done.
Absolutely. What we find is, going into this process, when you start thinking about energy upgrades, all you want to talk about is, how much does it cost and how much am I going to save? Actually, we find talking to homeowners who've had their upgrades done, all they want to talk about is how comfortable their house is. So it's really important to take in, there are the financial factors. There's increased value in your home. There's energy savings. There are financial factors to this, but actually you talk to somebody who's done the upgrades and they want to talk about the comfort.
And it must be a very positive thing when you're in a position to be able to give out loans that can help people improve their homes like that,
Yeah, I suppose been able to enable the lenders who distribute the loans to offer these at the low cost. It's fantastic. And the feedback that we get from the lenders who are involved in this scheme is extremely positive. And and it's probably what we're talking about today, just making it clear to people it is quite straightforward process. Yeah. It doesn't need to be too complicated, and there are people here to help the homeowner along the way. Yeah. Yeah,
brilliant. And have you a second case study there?
I do, yeah. So this is the kind of the bigger upgrade. This is the B2 upgrade, which, let's acknowledge, is a substantial amount of money to be investing in your home. And I don't know about you, but I don't have 40 grand sitting in my bank account ready to go on something like this. And that is ultimately, again, talking about middle of the road costs. 40 grand net of the grant is what we're talking about. So
what would that 40 grand get you then?
Okay, so let's say again, take a end of terrace house. Typical upgrades would be your walls and your attic, windows and doors. Let's say ventilation and generally a heat pump at the same time. So again, your median costs, middle of the road costs for your end of terrace home are 37,385, right? So let's say, great if you have savings, and some people do, fair play to them, but for the people who need to borrow for this, you can look at a green mortgage and you can add money onto your mortgage, and sometimes that's a good way to go in terms of being able to spread it over a much longer period of time. But do have a look as well at the home energy upgrade loan scheme for this. You can borrow for anything up to 75,000 over 10 years, and you have the flexibility to spend a quarter of the loan on non-energy related expenditure. So let's say you put that 37,385 over 10-year loan, you're talking about monthly repayments of €360. So again, that breaks it down into something much more manageable. Not everybody is going to be able to do that very comprehensive upgrade, but I think actually this increases the pool of people who would be able to consider doing that kind of an upgrade because they can put it out over a longer term.
But by doing that much work, you're reducing the running costs even more and more.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's all kind of relevant. So that just to note that.
So that's exactly what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, Ferg, and the one-stop shop is you're taking homes and bringing them up to B2. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's it exactly. And when you look at that, we'll say Roisin's case study of 37,000, that's for probably 62 or 3,000 worth of work. So I suppose the problem with grants being discounted is everyone kind of moves on and as if they're not there at all. Yeah. But that's 60 grand worth of work for 37,000 worth.
And you only need to get the loan for the 37,000.
So exactly.
We say that 25 of grant up around whatever it is, but depending on what measures, that's all discounted up front. Homeowners don't have to worry about that at all.
So it's worth being
Poor
very
old
clear on
one-stop
that.
shops have to worry
So
about
just give us
that one.
give us those figures again. So it's approximately 62,000 euros worth.
Yeah,
of
I'm
work.
saying just that example
Approximately, yeah.
is if there's 37,000 of worth of, and the list of measures that have gone in there, it could be like 25,000 worth of work. So
Yeah. But then
if
also
you add that to the 37, I come up with 62 anyway.
They're all published online. Actually, we can have a look at them.
none of us are mathematicians here.
None of them are mathematicians, but you do get that benefit. And I think in that case, the median grant for the end of terrace houses is about 22,000 euros. And again, some people get more than that, some people
Yeah,
get less
depends.
than that.
Yeah,
That's the median amount. But you're talking, the total cost of those upgrades is pretty substantial. And then if you bring that right down to a monthly figure of 360 euros, it says, right, now I can do it.
Yeah, like, again, you don't need to be a mathematician to work out that you're getting a grant of a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
You're getting a loan to top it up to get the overall works done, but then also you can apply for another 25% to maybe get a bathroom done or do whatever else is done. You want to get done in your home as well, because like I think that's the way a lot of people do approach it. Like people would say to me just on a general basis, look, I want to get my bathroom done, but I'm going to get an extension done next year, so will you do the two for me together? So people do like the thoughts of just people coming to their home for a certain period of time and working, and they're right, and then leaving again.
And we were really clear coming in. The SBCI was involved with the SBCI and indeed the Department of the Environment, who were providing the funding for the scheme, and we were really clear up front. You need to allow people to use a portion of the loan for other things, because that's what they're doing. That's what they need to do. That's what they want to do. And then they need the funds up front, because they have this chicken and egg of, I can't sign a contract until I know I have my loan funds. People were coming in and saying, I need money for deposits. So this loan scheme has really been designed to directly tackle some of the problems that people were experiencing on the ground. And again, the one-stop shops were really integral in terms of giving that feedback around what are the challenges here, what are the problems that homeowners who want to do these upgrades are coming across and that are stopping them from doing these upgrades.
And usually, like when you look at the energy efficiency measures, like insulation is never going to be as sexy as a new kitchen.
Sure.
Come on.
So everyone wins here, because the energy efficiency side is generally hidden works. And when you have a choice between the kitchen and the heat pump.
Well, I've often been at that stage in a project, and they go, the budget has got tight now, and then they kind of go, oh, well, look, can we take some money away from this part of the build to put it towards the kitchen?
Never the kitchen, though.
But you can, but it's not a very wise investment. You know what I mean? So, like, this is a good news story. There's no doubt about it, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Is there so? Again, I'd like just to be clear to people who do you think is eligible for this? Again, do you mind just running through that again?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So firstly, you're Irish-based, Republic of Irish-based. You're a homeowner. You are seeking to undertake energy efficiency upgrades within your home, bearing in mind that this must be paired with an SBCI grant. That is a very important part of this. This is not a single loan without the grant. They're together. And then, as we said, that 25% of those works can go towards other project works that are non-energy efficiency. Yeah.
And after that, then you have to meet normal loan criteria. Again, worth emphasising that the loan amount is from 5k up to 75k. It can also, you can get the loan across 3 different properties. Which is a positive to bear in mind. So what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
If you had 3 different properties, you probably have 3 different properties.
Listen, some people do.
It's not a problem for most people.
I do.
Sleeping in your van.
But that's a good point to mention.
It is actually an important point.
So can you sort of break that down a little bit more? What exactly do you mean by that?
So you're a homeowner, and you perhaps are a landlord as well, and have 2 other properties. You can get a loan up to 75k per property. Bearing in mind, always remember that 75% rule. Yes, what I'd say to the homeowner. Just remember that. It actually brings you right up to, what's that, 225k.
So if you're someone who does have 3 properties and all 3 of them need an energy upgrade,
And that is, of course,
You will get 3 separate loans on the 3 separate properties.
Yes, you could do, but you have to meet the eligibility criteria. Yeah.
I think it's important just to emphasise as well, because a lot of people don't know this. Rental properties can get the same grants as everybody else. Yeah. So whether you're a landlord or whether you're somebody who's actually renting a property and trying to encourage your landlord to get the basic measures done, landlords can access the same fixed grants as any other homeowner for the upgrades, and they can also access these loans. Now these are individual landlords, so I'm talking here not somebody who's a company. We're talking here about somebody who owns the rental property in their personal name, and you can upgrade up to 3 different rental properties, get the same grants and spread the cost over a period of time. The other thing to mention, because we are on a bit of a thing around trying to get rental properties upgraded as well, because what we do find is actually that those who are renting are much more likely to be at risk of energy poverty, so we're trying to encourage landlords to upgrade their properties. So it's worth mentioning as well that Revenue gives tax relief on energy upgrades as well, so you can claim a deduction against your income of up to €10,000 if you spend it on energy upgrades. You could also get a discount on your mortgage. If you have a mortgage against the property, that goes for anybody, not just landlords. So there's a whole range of benefits here. But particularly, we're trying to raise awareness around there's great supports out there from a whole range of different sources, whether it's loans, grants or tax deductions for landlords to encourage them to upgrade their properties.
Because let's be honest, I do think that there is a lot of properties out there that are rented that are well below par and are very.
And again, this doesn't have to be a €40,000 investment in your home. You can do the basics. You can do the attic. You can do the walls. You can do the heating controls. Your tenants are going to get a much more comfortable home. You're going to get longer term tenants as a result. So there's huge benefits here.
Yeah, there's benefits for everybody, because again, I know landlords get a terrible time, and I always think it's like terrible in politics. Oh, you're a landlord, therefore out with you type thing. I don't think it's a problem being a landlord, but I think if you're a landlord who's, putting a property out there that is not fit for purpose and you're just leaving it there, well, then there's a problem. So here's an incentive for somebody who is a landlord, that they can get an affordable loan to get their energy upgrade done, and on 3 different houses. And obviously, if you're a tenant or you're someone who is renting, you can say to your landlord, look, we'd love you to upgrade the home, and they go, well, it's going to cost me too much money. Well, maybe it's not. Here's the options. So, it creates at least conversations, and it certainly creates opportunities for people. It's very interesting. I genuinely didn't know that. So that's great information.
I never saw you as interested, so you definitely have 3 properties somewhere.
I love talking
Your
about
eyes
money.
lit up there.
I never get to touch money. But I
you
love
get a
talking
break from
about
Revenue as well.
Well, it's back to the value point as well there, in respect to like the tenant looks at the BER. Now people do look and they go, hang on a second, that rent vis-a-vis the BER, no, I'm not paying that. The tenant is savvy, and I think that is something the landlord should be aware of as well.
I totally agree with you.
And we do have research supporting that as well. I think the ESRI did some research, and I might be wrong on the figures, but I think it was on average an extra €36 on the rent that was achieved by properties with a higher BER rating, and then in terms of the actual resale value of the home, that increases as well. The last research, which is a little bit out of date at this stage, it was 2015, said that for every 1 point increase on the 15-point BER scale, so there's A1 and A2 and B1, B2, for every 1 point increase, you actually get a 1% increase in your property value. And we're looking at updating that research as well at the moment. So there's your energy bills, there's your savings if you get a discounted green mortgage, there's increased value in your property, there's potentially increased rent if you're renting the property. There's a whole range of different financial benefits, putting aside altogether the really tangible stuff around comfort.
And also you're doing your bit for the environment as well.
Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, well, that's the truth as well,
Absolutely.
But it's great that that's there for landlords, because the old thing about landlords was that they're not the end users. So if they increase or reduce the costs of running, they're not the benefit.
Exactly.
They're not benefiting from that.
Yeah.
So it's great that both the tenant and the landlord benefit from upgrading their house.
Yeah.
Very good. Any final points before we wrap things up?
Yeah, the other thing that I just want to kind of bring out a little bit is, these loans can be used for the individual upgrades, and you probably are thinking there your attic insulation, your wall insulation. It's also important to remember that people who might be living in homes that are that little bit more efficient, maybe that have been built from 2007 or so onwards, where they might actually be able to swap out their old oil or gas boiler for a heat pump, you can use these loans for a heat pump as well. And the odds are you have to have a 20% improvement on your current BER, but the odds are actually putting in a heat pump is going to reach that 20% uplift requirement anyway. The basic message about all of this is go and have a conversation with a one-stop shop. They'll be able to tell you, walk you through the whole upgrade process. They'll be able to tell you how much they're going to cost and whether your planned upgrades are going to qualify for the loan. And
I would presume, as always, the SEAI on their website have a lot of this information.
There's tons of information there, yeah. So we have a page around the home energy upgrade loan scheme, although the SBCI are the Bible on that. We do have some general information, and it's, I suppose, interlinked with all of our home energy upgrade information now is that you can benefit from these low cost loans as well. There's information there for the supports that are available for landlords, which includes the low cost loans. There's information on heat pumps and the eligibility for heat pumps around, do you need to undertake some additional upgrades like, improving the air tightness before you're ready for a heat pump, or maybe your home is heat pump ready. There's loads of information up on the website.
Brilliant stuff. Any final points, Ferg?
What did we forget? Loads.
I'm sure there's lots more detail, but
I suppose the other thing that comes up from talking to homeowners is we always talk about fabric first, but PV is not covered.
Yes.
So if you are installing PV, it goes into
solar PV, is not.
Solar PV will break it down again. I'm so used to saying just measure. PV. Yeah, but it's just that can be covered in the 25% outside of the. I know the argument from homeowners
to explain, isn't it?
Yeah. It is energy efficient, but the point is that it's always going to be a fabric first, and like when Roisin was talking about if you do have a house that's heat pump ready, it's guaranteed to get more than 20% with just a heat pump. The other big mover is PV, so I just thought I'd bring it up there, but obviously. There's no point in having PV or a heat pump without addressing the fabric first, as we always say.
Yeah.
So,
and what we did find, in relation to the solar PV was that. First of all, there are loads of government supports there already for solar PV, so there's really generous grants. You get your feed-in tariff, so you get actually paid for any electricity that goes back into the grid.
No VAT.
There's 0% VAT on the solar panels. So, and there's a whole range of different finance options out there on the market generally, so you can have your no upfront cost. You can pay for the solar and not actually buy the equipment. There's a whole range of different finance options out there. What we did find was that really low cost flexible finance just wasn't there for the fabric first. Your basics, do your hat and your jacket first, so that was where really government intervention was needed. Now, having said that, if you want to do that comprehensive upgrade, and just in recognition of the fact that it does take, sometimes different measures and different combinations of measures to get up to that B2 or higher, if you're doing that comprehensive upgrade and you're doing solar PV as part of that, you can use the loan for that. But just solar PV as a standalone measure, it was felt that there was adequate supports out there already.
Very good. So, Orla, where do people go to get more information from your side of things?
So from our side of things, the best place to go is to the SBCI website, and that lists out all the loan criteria, eligibility criteria, details of the loans, what fits, what doesn't, everything we've discussed today. Also worth noting, while I have it here and might as well plug it, we are at the Ideal Homes.
Okay.
And we will be speaking at it, and we will have a stand, similarly, SAAI. great opportunity for anyone thinking of doing up their homes and wants to pop in over that weekend. We are happy to talk and talk you through the loans and really take the homeowner through it.
Okay, brilliant. And aside from that, it's the SBCI website.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And Roisin, where would you recommend people go, or what's the next steps for people?
Look, I mean, I think that in my experience anyway, nobody wants to talk about a loan until they actually need a loan. But when you do get to that stage where, you know, you're thinking about this and you want to have a look at the what's out there, go to the SBCI website, go to the SEAI website, go to the CCPC website where there's really good loan calculators, and obviously have a look at the lenders themselves. So some people want to go with their own lender that they're familiar with. They might have an account or a mortgage or whatever with them already. So your lender can also give you some information about this if they're participating in the loan scheme. It's recognisable high street lenders. You know the names.
Good stuff. Ferg, it's a super positive thing. Final thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And I suppose don't be afraid of it. Talk to one-stop shops for information. Look up the various websites. Doesn't cost anything to pick up the phone and talk to someone about it and walk through it. I suppose what it does is it takes away the definite no.
Yeah.
And it might bring you to a maybe, or it might bring you to we'll do this. So that's all positive. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Roisin and Orla, thank you very much for being our guests.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks.
You.
I finally got the names right halfway through. But genuinely, I think it's a really important.
That's all right, Steve. No problem.
Yeah.
But keeping it serious again here. But all joking aside, look, it's definitely a question that's been asked for years now, and definitely a perception that's been out there. Yes, I'd like to do it, but I could never get to it.
Yeah.
This is the bridge that brings you to where it is. So again, as always, folks, we have their email addresses. we will definitely touch base with any questions that you've got. Don't be afraid to send them in. Any comments that you want to, us to get answered, don't be afraid to send them in. Check out the SEAI website and check out the SBCI website.
Perfect.
And honestly, all the information is out there, and it really is. For me, it's something that I think has been badly needed. As Ferg was saying, he's been waiting for this for a long time. So it's now, as Ferg really well put there, it's not the definite no anymore. There's a maybe, and I'd say if you look into it, there's probably a very good yes coming for a lot of people. And again, don't be afraid to reach out to your landlord. Or if you're a landlord, don't be afraid to check it out and see what you can do. Tune in to the next episode of Behind the Walls with Pete and Ferg coming soon. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Dave.